Do you want an unfair advantage to dominate your fantasy football league? Look no further and download SquadQL, the only mobile app you need to crush your friends and rivals. SquadQL recommends the best starting lineup for each week based on your starters, bench players, and free agent pool. SquadQL provides waiver and trade recommendations too. Go to SquadQL.com to download SquadQL for free. SquadQL is brought to you by the creators of RotoQL. Again, you can grab that at SquadQL.com.
This is Melvin Gordon from the Los Angeles Chargers, and you listening to the Fantasy Footballers podcast.
Welcome to the Fantasy Footballers podcast, coming to you from Draft.com studios with your hosts, Andy Holloway, Jason Moore, and Mike Wright.
Welcome in. Whoa. Felt like I had to get in there.
Yeah,
I amped you up.
too. Man, Andy's jacked this morning. I love it.
Welcome in. The Fantasy Footballers podcast for Monday, September 10th. I am so excited to get into it today. So many questions. So many answers.
You want to do a 4-hour show?
Let's do a 4.5-hour show.
Yes.
Look, I'm excited.
I'll do it.
Don't
tempt me with a good time.
One heck of a Sunday. Capped by an incredible, unbelievable performance.
Oh, the Sunday night game?
By Aaron Rodgers.
Oh, man.
I mean, I told my wife, like, I had it on. I'm sitting on the couch. She's playing on her phone. She's waiting to watch a show. And I'm watching the end of this game. And then I just sit there. And my jaw is just on the floor. And I'm just exhaling, saying, like, is that one of the greatest games of football I've ever seen?
It was a true treat to be able to watch. I mean, this is one of those, like, they'll
seems
talk
like
about that for a long, long time. Even though it was only week one, opening week, if this was playoffs, this would have been, in the top 5 greatest games or performances of all time for what happened. It was insane. Andy, you tweeted out, well, there goes
it was done.
It was done.
The Green Bay Packers,
their season
were done.
Was over. Devontae Adams, his potential done. Jimmy Graham potential over. Everything was gone for the Packers, and then it's like, I'm coming back out. I'm gonna win the game.
It was incredible. It was amazing, and it's so good for football to have Aaron Rodgers, the best player on the planet, healthy. End of story. Now, if you're a Bears fan right now,
sorry,
you're having a rough morning, although you shouldn't, because you played well. Khalil Mack is everything you hoped he'd be, and your future's bright. So that's what I'll say to you. Quick question of the day. We've got all the stud muffins, pooped in the big boy pants, the rising stars. We've got a jam-packed show. We're going to answer as many questions as we can. Tomorrow's the waiver show. But here's the quick question. Which week one bust are you trying to trade for? A lot of candidates. Obviously, week one, my goodness. People are pulling out the jump to conclusions mat again.
Oh, this is what we do. I'm doing it.
They want to declare.
I'm trying not to freak out.
It's like declaring victory before the battle is over or conceding defeat. Look, there's time. I almost wore my Cardinals hat today to prove.
Oh, well, no. The Cardinals, we can accept it. The Cardinals are done.
That's why I didn't do it.
Yes, I've accepted that.
I wanted to say 1 week doesn't make your season, but maybe it does.
For the Cardinals.
There's a couple things you can glean.
Pooping
the Bills are not going to surprise us.
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to jump in here. The one I really wanted to put in here was the guy that Jason's going to talk about.
Oh, me too. So Jason's got the unanimous one.
Yeah, it's a great pick. But I wanted to bring up the name of Evan Engram because there is going to be some tumult in the tight end landscape. I'm sure we're going to talk about Greg Olsen, who re-injured his foot.
Delaney Walker.
Delaney Walker looks like he's out for the season. Evan Engram is the name I want to bring up because if you didn't watch the game, if you're just checking out the box score and the fantasy points, you go, what? The dude had 3 points? He sucks. He ruined my week. But if you watched the game, you saw what happened. He had a monster play, an absolute sensational catch, called back on a garbage penalty. Those things happen. Okay, 3. If he had that pass, I mean, he's up to 5, maybe 6 points, which then you're not furious with him. Then he had another big play called back on, I believe the penalty was on Ingram, and that would have put him up near the 8-9 points, where you're very pleased with that performance from a tight end. So if you are in trouble and someone is tilting over Evan Ingram, I am interested.
If you didn't play against Rob Gronkowski, you probably were okay with whatever poop you got, because Kelce, Graham, Walker, Olsen.
I actually have some numbers here on that.
Yes.
Take a quick timeout and talk about the tight end landscape. Obviously, look.
Is this a Zach Morris timeout?
I needed some juice from Trey Burton going against Andy's unbelievable Kansas City stack. Thanks, Andy. And I didn't get it. And a lot of people were like, "Oh, Trey Burton, Trey Boo Boo should be Trey Boo Doo." Trey Doo Doo is pretty good.
I've heard them all. Trey Doo Doo, Trey Boo Hoo.
And I'll give you that, but I'm still not at all disappointed with the fact that, look, the reason we like Trey Burton is because he was one of the last tight ends that you would draft. You're not drafting him till the 7th, 8th, 9th round, allowing you to stack better picks instead of taking those tight ends that went ahead of him, like Kelce, Olsen, Ingram, all these guys. So here's the thing. In the top 12, your 12 drafted tight ends on average in the leagues, guess how many had more than 8 points? In half-point PPR.
5.
2. You had Gronk and Jordan Reed.
Yeah.
That's it.
5 touchdowns were the total scored by tight ends in the NFL.
Yeah, Kelce had 1.1. Olsen left with injury. Walker left with injury. And Njoku had 2.8. Burton had 2. Ingram had 2.8. It was a crap show for everyone.
It was. All right, I'm going to go with Chris Hogan.
Yeah.
I'm going to target Chris Hogan. Look, I know it was a nice game for Phillip Dorsett. I know we're going to bring him up on the waiver show, and we should. I came out, my bold predictions, I even said Phillip Dorsett might lead the team in fantasy points through 4 weeks. But Chris Hogan, this was an anomalous game for Chris Hogan. He is a talented wide receiver who simply didn't, he fell 4th in the target share this week behind Dorsett, Gronk, and James White. I don't expect it to be the norm. We've seen enough of Chris Hogan.
And he was out there a ton.
Like, if you are looking for wide receiver help, I would target Chris Hogan this week. He was on the field. It just didn't work out in week 1. He's my target, trade target, the wide receiver position.
100%. I was debating between the guy I picked and Chris Hogan. And Chris Hogan, you need to know, because he's not like this super highly drafted wide receiver, there's a chance that come your waiver day,
it's not impossible.
Look at who was dropped.
Sure.
And if someone dropped Chris Hogan, you don't even need to trade for him.
Prediction. You will see a little line. Dropped Chris Hogan, signed Phillip Dorsett. You're going to see that in some leagues.
Yeah, and that would be a mistake, especially once Edelman comes back and takes over that Dorsett role. Mine that you two wanted, because the running back position is so important for fantasy, Kareem Hunt. Kareem Hunt, a lot of people frustrated. They say, oh, he's not the workhorse. That's not true. He actually was on the field a workhorse amount of percentage snaps, a total, percentage of carries, percentage of targets to the running back. You're disappointed in the output because Kansas City went ham and they only needed Tyreek Hill. But here's the thing. You wish you had more carries. Kareem Hunt looked great when he got them. His yards per carry and what he was doing on the field was fantastic, but you wanted more volume. We already knew that was going to happen sometimes. This is Andy Reid. This isn't like, his carries, like Royce Freeman, right? You might need to be worried about the carries coming Royce Freeman's way for, as far as on the season. Kareem Hunt, you're going to have games where he doesn't get the ball as many times as you want, but he's great.
It was 2 goal line opportunities that he didn't get the ball.
Yeah.
That was what it was. They had 2 chances and they did 2 shovel passes.
Right.
So it was bad luck, but Kareem did look good. Obviously, he's going to be spelled by Spencer Ware.
Owners go on tilt, too. When it's your guy, you overvalue them, and I think sometimes you go, oh, I drafted the worst.
Right.
Relax. That's what we're going to tell you. There are going to be some decisions you can make this week because you have to. But just breathe. I mean, Jason, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. I'm very upset that I'm going to score the second most. My super Uber team, Brooks and I's co-managed super Uber team.
Potential undefeated team?
My potential undefeated team is probably going to score the second most points in the league and ran up against a buzzsaw Pat Mahomes, Tyreek Hill. You were saying on the show, you going back and forth all week between Ben Roethlisberger and Tyrod Taylor.
Yes.
And I'm so angry at the weather because I believe that if the weather was good, you would not have taken them out and put in
100% he would have.
Oh, no,
I took Tyrod out on Saturday, put in Pat Mahomes because I knew I needed the stack to beat you. And that's a strategic thing you can do. If you are a underdog in a matchup, I prefer to look at those opportunities for a dual blow-up. I mean, that's what I bet on. I bet on, hey, if Tyreek's going to have a giant game, he's only going to do it with his quarterback, Pat Mahomes. Let's sign Mahomes and flex him in. And that's one of the things that's nice about streaming a quarterback. I drafted a quarterback late, second to last in our league, so I didn't really feel a lot of attachment to Big Ben on week 1. Didn't feel attachment to Tyrod, despite loving him.
Big Ben wasn't really attached to his team either.
No, although
he was down with the Cleveland Browns.
Start your Big Ben next week. It's going to be He's playing Kansas City next week, and I'm going to play him over Pat Mahomes on my roster.
Ooh.
Because it's going to be a comeback week for Big Ben. Maybe the start of the week already.
Ooh.
We'll see.
Follow
us on Twitter at the FF Ballers. The website's thefantasyfootballers.com. Our community is jointhefoot.com. And I told Mike before the show, I want him to post a picture of our setup, our Sunday morning setup. We've got
it's
a bit of a. I promise you, no one's watched more football this weekend than this show.
That's true.
If that makes you have more confidence in what we say, nobody saw more football than us.
It's a little bit of a lawnmower man situation where you are just. There's a lot going on. Yeah, and I know that you two fellas do not understand my reference.
Went right
we
over
both looked
the
at
head.
each other saying, "Who's lawnmower?"
We're
man?
we're in it. We're in it. We'll put it up there.
We'll post it on Instagram, instagram.com/fantasyfootballers. All right. Without further ado, let's get into the rewind.
Weekly Rewind.
I really don't care if this show goes long, by the way.
Oh!
I don't care.
Daddy.
I'm too excited.
Daddy's getting me
Yeah.
crazy.
Well,
My dad's gone crazy.
Dad left, and the fun uncle is running the show.
Look, I'm on some
You
medicine.
guys want some sweets?
All right.
Caffeine? There's no rules today.
Oh, man.
He's on the old cough syrup.
Delaney Walker,
Why you got to bring me down?
diagnosed with a dislocated ankle along with a fracture, almost certainly done for the season, was in the air cast.
One of those gruesome injuries.
Yeah.
Not good. Unfortunate. Fantasy-wise, he wasn't efficient this week, but Corey Davis led the team in targets by a lot. Now, he only caught 6 of them. I think he had 15.
Well, part of the problem with that was that there was also an injury to Marcus Mariota, so that's the one that I am most interested in here. I think that the Titans, I don't think Mariota is some extremely awesome, accurate quarterback. I think he's good for fantasy because he runs the ball, but he is able to produce fantasy points where Blaine Gabbert is not. So that's the one where Corey Davis, if Mariota's back, Corey Davis looks great. If Blaine Gabbert's there, I'm still worried for Corey Davis.
Interesting. Okay. Mariota did exit with the elbow injury. We'll have further reports this week. I don't have any other information for you. The Aaron Rodgers knee injury, Dr. David Chow, who was all over this injury from the beginning.
Nailing it.
He talked about instantaneously the fact that it was not an ACL injury. It looks like an MCL sprain that would limit his movement. If you read an article by Dr. David Chow, he talks about the fact that this could be a 2 to 4 week movement limitation situation. Aaron Rodgers said after the game immediately he is playing in week 2. He's proven, as Jason tweeted, that he doesn't need all of his legs to be the best quarterback in football, and that's all there is to it.
He is going to hope he has both of them next week, though.
He does play Minnesota. That's going to be tough. All right, big news. Leonard Fournette left the game because of is this correct?
No.
That's not the injury. It's a hamstring injury to Leonard Fournette. Doug Marrone was optimistic about the injury, but TJ Yeldon's going to be on your waiver wire opportunities this week.
Yeah, he's probably the top ad this week as we sit by and wait for the Leonard Fournette news. Regardless of the news, this is
the problem.
This is trouble. This is what we talked about with Leonard Fournette during the offseason. It's the injury-prone conversation and argument. You don't want to just throw it out. But Leonard Fournette's lower body just sustains injuries, and a hamstring is going to lead to other problems. So
selfishly, when this happened,
concerned.
I immediately went and thought of the season-long rankings where, you take your
right.
bets, and I bet on a 16-game season from Leonard Fournette because if he played 16, I think he was going to be fantastic. And immediately I just went, man, it's hard to take that bet when in high school, in college, and in the pros in his single year, he has just not been able to stay healthy.
Now, what do you make of this? Doug Marrone said that the hamstring strain is in a, quote, good part of his leg.
That's fantastic.
For whatever that's worth.
The good part?
The good part of the leg.
You don't want a hamstring in the bad part of your leg.
No.
Oh, just saying.
It's seedy. It's a seedy part of town.
It's look, whenever you have an explosive athlete, you're not – I mean, there's a difference between having a running back and a wide receiver with a hamstring issue than an offensive lineman. You have to run at
imitation
full
Rolexes.
Speed.
Sorry, Jay.
No, that's fine. I missed it. But I'm sure it was great.
It was the seedy part of his leg.
All right.
But luckily it was in the good part of town.
Yeah.
Look, Doug Baldwin, not good. MCL sprain on the opposite knee of the one he was struggling with. He has now evened up. He's down to 2 bad knees.
He's down to 60%.
And he's going to miss a couple weeks. So this is what I'm, definitely calling. If you listen to the players afterwards, they were already talking. Russell was talking about, we hope he gets back soon in a way that just infers.
And this is going to be a hot take. I'd rather start Brandon Marshall than Tyler Lockett.
Brandon Marshall has looked good. Look, this is something I don't want to say because I've been anti-Brandon Marshall for the last 2 years, but he looked good in preseason. He looked good in this game. In classic form, he pushed a guy out of his way and caught a touchdown.
Yeah.
He got the penalty called on him.
Got caught this time.
Got caught, which about half the time he gets caught, but that's nothing new.
They got a superstar tight end.
And then he had another touchdown later.
Are you talking about I don't even want to bring him up yet.
No,
we're saving him?
Yeah,
I want to save him.
Oh, that's
Okay.
good.
We'll talk about who benefits from this injury in the Stud Muffins. Marquise Goodwin exited with a quad injury, returned, but then got pulled from the game again. Marquise Goodwin goosed you.
Yeah, well, he took a shot right in the thigh. He got hit in the bad part too.
In the bad part of town.
Yeah.
Did Pierre Garçon get goosed?
No, he had like 2 catches for 20 yards.
Interesting.
Oh, the bet.
You're going to take it?
No.
You're going to take it with the injury?
I will not take.
Okay.
I will allow you out of it as a
you.
gentleman because
Thank you.
because it was a heads-up bet, not an injury bet. So you are forgiven.
Thank you.
But I won the bet.
The fans do not approve.
Deshaun Jackson, concussion. Jeremy Hill left the game with an injury to the right knee. Didn't look good. And then the big news. Greg Olsen exited with a foot injury, was later seen on crutches in a walking boot, and it is confirmed.
It's confirmed now?
What's confirmed is that it's an injury to the same foot that was hurt, the one that Jason spoke all offseason about risking re-injury with, and it happened almost too soon.
Yeah, certainly. I mean,
You're going to take a victory limp?
I don't want a victory lap on an injury. I don't. But the reason we were trying to tell you the chance of him re-injuring his foot.
Pump the brakes?
He was
last week?
Yeah.
He was your pump the brakes last week.
Look, the reason that there's a high percentage chance, 20% chance of re-aggravating the specific injury he had. But then, and if you, it was on another podcast, but one of my bold predictions was his foot's going to get re-injured this year because he weighs over 250 pounds and is on the field 100% of the time and is older. Like everything stacks up to re-injure. So if it is a re-injury of the same injury, he should be out for this season, maybe make it back for the last couple weeks, but he's irrelevant this year.
That's really unfortunate. Look, the tight end waiver wire is going to be one of the biggest things to talk about this week. I look forward to doing that. Before we move into the Stud Muffins, I want to thank Casper for sponsoring today's podcast. You guys know about Casper. They're the sleep brand that continues to revolutionize its line of products to create an exceptionally comfortable sleep experience one night at a time. I can speak from experience. The Casper mattress is great, and they have 3 different models. The original, the Wave, and the Essential. Casper mattresses are perfectly designed to soothe and cradle your natural geometry. We all have different geometry, right?
Yep.
And look, it's delivered to your door in a small how do they do that size box, free shipping, free returns. You get a 100-night risk-free trial. There's really nothing more to say other than that. It's a great mattress at a great price. My experience was great unboxing it, sleeping on it, everything about it. Love the Casper mattress, and you can get $50 towards select mattresses by visiting Casper.com/footballers and using footballers at checkout. That's Casper.com/footballers. Offer code footballers for $50 off your mattress purchase. Terms and conditions apply.
And we definitely want to thank Harry's longtime supporter of this show and a great sponsor and great razors. The founders over there, they know that, if you want to have a great shave, you have to have great blades. They purchase their own factory. They make super sharp, durable blades that last. And then they're so confident in the quality of their blades, they are giving you a $13 value trial set. Comes with everything you need for a really great shave. The weighted ergonomic handle, which happens to be my favorite part, is actually the handle. The 5-blade razor with lubricating strip and trimmer blade, rich lathering shave gel, travel blade cover. You can claim yours by going to harrys.com/footballers. And now our listeners can redeem their trial set at harrys.com/footballers. Make sure you go to harrys.com/footballers to redeem your offer and let them know that we sent you to help support this show.
This week's Fantasy Stud Muffins.
All right, look, there's some overarching questions with everybody we talk about on this show today, whether they're part of the Stud Muffins segment or the pooped in their big boy pants segment. Those questions revolve around things like, should we expect this to continue? Is this a waiver pickup? Do you let this guy go because they pooped the bed, or do you hold on to them? These are the type of questions we're going to answer today. Let's start with the quarterback stud muffins this week. Ryan.
You got to start at the top.
Patrick.
This is true Fitzmagic.
417 yards, 4 touchdowns. I believe all of them were 35-plus yards. And he ran for one.
I mean, there's not much more you can say than the perfect game.
21 completions for over 400 yards, people.
Now, here is the thing about Magic. Sometimes he makes things disappear.
Yeah.
And
yes.
I would not read too much into this performance because he has a long track record of flashing in the NFL. How do you guys feel about Ryan Fitzpatrick moving forward? Because, look, the matchups stink. The next 3 matchups stink. Philly, Pittsburgh, Chicago. This is not – I think it's fool's gold or – a magic trick.
Sure. My bigger question is not about Ryan Fitzpatrick. It's about the New Orleans Saints. I mean, are we just off to another slow start like last year? I mean, they were a Super Bowl contending defense last year. They were one miracle away from an NFC championship game.
They can't win the opening game of the season. They just can't do it.
And the beard comes in, Ryan Fitzpatrick, and just rains all over them.
It's genuinely like they did not respect. They
were playing for week 2?
Yeah, they did not game plan to respect the deep ball of Ryan Fitzpatrick. I say what you will. I'm going to still consider the New Orleans Saints defense as a quality defense. They have the pieces there, and we saw them last year get torched week 1. And, Andy, you brought up this ridiculous stat about their week 1
They've lost
losses.
7 of 8 now and 5 straight.
That's unbelievable.
And here's the thing. You could easily – I mean, is there a better team with more deep weapons than Tampa? Evans, Djax, and Godwin?
O.J. Howard?
I mean, I don't know if there's a team that can beat you deep better than the Bucs can. That was something we didn't see from Djax last year because him and Winston couldn't get on the same page. One of the reasons this show, I think, has succeeded is because we're in the trenches with you.
Right.
I started the New Orleans defense.
I did too in the listener league, -9.
Yeah, people are sharing all of their negative point totals depending on your league scoring. The Saints defense let you down. They were at home against a backup quarterback, and the backup quarterback led the league in fantasy points.
The New Orleans Saints, Vegas, who always tries to get it right the most and is probably the most accurate predictor. They had the Saints winning by 10.
Yeah.
Saints did not even – they didn't cover.
Well, this game was, 88 points scored. Drew Brees had a monster game, 37 for 45 for 439 and 3. Gets Cleveland, Atlanta, New York on the schedule.
All
Drew
good
Brees
things.
looks great.
Yes.
And as does Alvin Kamara.
Yes.
Pat Mahomes. How you doing, Pat Mahomes?
Oh, man.
You know what? I said this yesterday when we were watching the game. Alex Smith was made a deep ball thrower by Tyreek Hill, not the other way around. And Pat Mahomes knows how to throw the deep ball. And I was impressed with the offensive line performance in this game from Kansas City. It gives me some hope that Pat Mahomes can do it long term. What do you guys think about his long term potential? He has to go to Pittsburgh next week. I mentioned that. Then San Francisco, Denver.
Pat Mahomes is a quarterback one this year. I mean, I was tempted to make him a quarterback one and have him be a highly drafted guy. I was simply worried about the opening schedule going Chiefs, Steelers, Broncos as 3 of his first 4 games. I'm sorry.
Yeah. No,
not Chiefs, Chargers, obviously. Yep. He plays for the Chiefs. News alert. But the reality is, with the weapons he has, the arm, and the way that they are letting him run as well when necessary, it wasn't really necessary all that much last game, he's not going to slow down. I mean, he's got Broncos, Jaguars back-to-back in a couple weeks. I might take a break there, but otherwise I think you've got to stay in the flames with Mahomes.
I think you do stay in the flames, but I will say this is a Deshaun Watson line. He had 15 completions for over 250 yards and 4 touchdowns. So before you jump on the steed and ride through the town square proclaiming that you have the quarterback steal of the draft, I'm not there yet.
Yeah,
certainly he's not going to score 40 points.
He looked very
You're right,
good.
Mike, but you had the special team score for the Chiefs that brought the offense off the field. You had a turnover that brought the ball down to the 10-yard line before he even came out on the field. There were limited, obviously 27 attempts, limited opportunities.
Sure,
too.
but we talked about how disappointing Kareem Hunt is, or it was for fantasy this week. You take those 2 opportunities that turned into the Tom Brady pad the stats shuffle pass forward, which is
I hate
it's incredible that is a pass. I mean, because technically speaking, he lobbed it forward, so it's a forward pass. But you take him down to 256 and 2.
You're not talking about
all of a sudden we're not freaking out about Pat Mahomes.
No, but if he does that week in, week out the whole season, he's a quarterback one for sure.
If he does this every week, then
the 256 and 2.
Oh,
with the rushing yardage?
Sure.
That's my
point.
Okay.
All right.
All right. Phillip Rivers, Aaron Rodgers, Tom Brady, Case Keenum, Joe Flacco, the other stud muffins at the quarterback position. The standouts there, Mike's start of the week, Phillip Rivers got it done. They lost, but he got it done. You saw the involvement of Melvin Gordon in the passing game, padding the Phillip Rivers stats. Love it.
You saw Tyrell Williams. You saw how many drop touchdowns did we see?
We saw 3 or 4.
3 drop touchdowns.
Tyrell himself had 2.
And I think 2 other dropped long bombs.
Right.
And they were all Tyrell and Travis Benjamin.
Yeah.
Yeah. Case Keenum, nice game.
He's a good quarterback. I mean,
in positive matchups, Case Keenum will be a fantasy quarterback.
Well, he gets Oakland next week, so that's a positive matchup.
Yeah.
Moving on to running backs, Alvin Kamara.
I don't even know what to do about Alvin Kamara.
Super Camario doing it again. 8 carries.
Here's the
9 catches, 3 touchdowns.
Here's the first guy.
The beat goes on.
The first guy that, and I realized it was Tampa Bay and Mark Ingram wasn't there, but this is the first player this year that I've watched and immediately concluded like I was wrong. I mean, I didn't have him buried. He was like my 7th running back, but he shouldn't have been my 7th running back. I mean, he is what we thought he was.
Right.
I mean, he's just unbelievable. When he touches the ball, people can't tackle him every single time. He's great.
The Jamaal Charles gene.
He might be better than Jamaal Charles. At least, and he's in a better situation too.
So he reminds me a lot of him. He reminds me a lot of him.
He breaks the game. I mean, when you are that much better than NFL players, the people who make it to the NFL are the top 0.1%. How are you that much better?
That's how I feel about Tyreek Hill.
Absolutely.
Exactly.
Tyreek Hill and Alvin Kamara.
Makes sense.
You cannot look at efficiency stats and say regression is coming because what they can do on the field is not like what other people on the field are doing.
All right.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. So, news alert. Start Alvin Kamara. James Conner, Joe Mixon, Melvin Gordon, Adrian Peterson. AP came out with 166 all-purpose yards, 26 for 96 and a touchdown. The offensive line looked great against an Arizona defensive front we expected more from.
Yeah.
On the road, AP over under 1,000 yards this year.
Under.
Okay, that's I just had to test you. But
I expected a good game because he had 2 weeks off.
Is he a sell high?
Yes, I would.
Would you sell him, Mike? You took the plunge on him in our league of record.
Yeah.
Appropriately. You did it against your will, knowing the opportunity was there.
I'm going to wait one more week.
Yes, you might want to wait one more week.
Because he gets to take on the Indianapolis Colts, who will yet again make him look good, and that value could go up even more.
My dynasty team will like that.
The guy I want to talk about, and obviously James Conner is huge news, but Joe Mixon is the one where, yes, he played Indianapolis. We expected a good game, and he was your start of the week.
Yes.
That has nothing to do with what I care about. What I cared about was he was an absolute workhorse back.
Yeah.
He had the lion's share of snaps, the lion's share of carries, and the lion's share, and this is the most important one, of targets to the running back position.
That's a triple lion.
Because
wow.
Because
that was definitely a puma.
But
that's all right.
That was a kitty cat.
Yeah, that's okay.
All right.
Lions roar. You did more of a.
Well, in the passing game, you got to be much more agile.
Right.
Than a lion. You got to be the puma.
Yes.
But the point was, Gio Bernard has been a great pass-catching back, but he is not as good as Joe Mixon in that role, and the Bengals said, oh, I realize that.
And guess what? They won.
Yeah.
That helps, too.
He's going to be great.
He looks like he has the ability to be a girly David Johnson, Le'Veon Bell level workhorse.
And you know who else we needed to throw in here? He's not in our Stud Muffins section because he wasn't fantasy-wise. He didn't finish at the top. But the same exact thing happened for Jordan Howard. He was on the field in a certain way and
catching
using the passing game.
Yes.
And tell me, did he pass the eye test on how he caught the ball?
Yes,
he looked
did.
different than the last few years.
He looked fine. I don't think he looked different to me, but
usually in the last
he's the
few
best
years,
friend of a young quarterback.
Every pass is
awkward,
yes, and he has to
agree.
bobble it to catch it. He just caught the pass this year. 1 week too early.
Yeah, I look. He's a workhorse. We loved Jordan Howard, and he looks great.
But that's the thing that Jason's pointing out is last year he wasn't a workhorse. I mean, he's on the ground game, yes, but he was getting a lot of third downs. He's getting a lot of the passing work changes everything.
Yeah.
Matt
for
Nagy
Jordan Howard.
realizes that if you're going to put a guy on the field, he has to be a threat to catch the ball. Whether or not he's the best and most talented guy for the defense has to think about him catching the ball. That's what he realizes, so he gets those targets, and Mitch Trubisky kept it short. They were trying to protect that lead. We got to circle back to James Conner. 31 for 135, 2 touchdowns, 5 for 57, 100% of snaps. I believe he was the single most used running back in football. We have to talk about James Conner for a ton of reasons because the questions are going to come flooding in. And this is a big conclusion, a big decision right here. What do you do with James Conner? Lev Bell tweeted a little emoji with a magnifying eye, with a monocle after the game. They tied the Browns.
They did.
And James Conner went hamburgers.
Yeah, incredible workload, performance that was very, very strong as well.
He did have a game-costing fumble.
Sure. The question for James Conner, I guess what you're asking is, what do you do?
Do you trade him?
Do you trade him or you hold him? I hold him. Holding.
If you're not the Lev Bell owner and you have James Conner, there's an opportunity there. If you believe Lev Bell is coming back, to flip James Conner, right? Either to the Lev Bell owner,
right,
or to somebody else while he has value. Because let's be honest, if Lev Bell walks in the door on Monday, James Conner disappears from your roster.
100%.
Yeah.
So that's the mitigated.
His value disappears. He's just a handcuff.
Yes.
I saw someone who was offered Le'Veon Bell for James Conner. He was offered like, hey, I have Le'Veon Bell, you have James Conner. I'll swap you. You get Lev Bell, and that's like an auto yes. However, you need to think philosophically here. If you knew that Lev Bell was coming back week 10, which is a chance.
Then that trade is terrible.
Then I would rather have the first 10 weeks than the playoff weeks because you can't. This is just
you got to get in.
You cannot win in the playoffs without getting there.
Let's start here with the question, and we'll continue to discuss this week. Obviously, just handicap for me the odds that Lev Bell plays week 2. In your mind, what are the odds that Lev Bell plays week 2? And maybe that'll help our listeners make their own decision.
In my mind right now, it's under 20%.
Yeah, 20% was the number that came to my head.
I'm at 50-50.
Okay.
Sure.
For week 2. So I would be looking to flip Connor if I could. And here's the way you do it, in my opinion, is you flip Connor for somebody you know has season-long value. That's what I do.
Sure. That's fair.
That's all you do. And then you don't really risk a lot. What if you could trade James Conner for Devonta Freeman right now?
Oh.
I mean, what?
Assuming
that's
the knee
a
is
target.
Fine. Yeah, I would.
I mean, even if the knee's a little banged up, I mean, maybe that's your target right there. I would do it. I think this was an ideal situation for Connor. 100% of snaps, happened to score. You can't predict touchdowns every single game, and that's my opinion. All right, Chris Thompson, big game. Hyper-efficient Chris Thompson was back again, and he looked
11 touches.
He looked the part. Yeah. I love him.
We need to remember how usable, how valuable he was last season for fantasy. He is a must-start every single week. Will he play 16? I doubt it. But when he's he's on the right team. He's got Rule 86 there. If those two guys are healthy, put them in your lineups. Saquon, Barkley. It only takes one play.
He saved his week.
One play. But look, what's nice is you got a monster week from Saquon against a monster defense.
Yep.
Because one play defines your week. That's one of the hardest things for fantasy analysts is you can be right on a player for an entire game. I felt that way about Michael Crabtree. Barely targeted, barely catching the ball. I moved him down my rankings. One touchdown.
Yep.
Changes the week. Still think he stinks. All right, wide receivers. Guys, what do you think about
the one-touch man?
Tyreek the Freak.
I can be honest.
Jason, why don't you talk about him for a little bit?
I hate him. I mean, that's just – look, I'm still a human. I'm still a human being.
I have feelings.
And you hurt the heck out of my feelings. I don't like –
oh, man, I love him so much.
I know. Look, he's faster than every single player on the field. When you watch the snap and the quick release and then he's throwing to the middle of the field and Tyreek Hill is there already from the outside, you go, how did he get there? He's going to be efficient. He's going to have huge games. I will say this. We brought this up. We got a 2-year sample, and granted, maybe it was Alex Smith, but maybe it was more of an Andy Reid thing. Tyreek Hill is great on the road.
Right.
So just pay attention to it going forward, because if over the next 4 weeks that trend continues where he's used significantly more on the road, then maybe that's a game plan thing.
7 for 169 and 2, had a kick return touchdown, made some catches that were unbelievable.
Yeah,
had a rush for a touchdown that was called a pass.
He's got top 5 potential.
Yep.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, big weeks from all 3 of the Tampa wideouts: Deshaun Jackson, Mike Evans, Chris Godwin. Evans 7 for 147 and 1. Have we underestimated Mike Evans and his greatness, or is this just week 1 magic?
I think it's a little bit of week 1 magic, but it was fantastic to see Mike Evans with an actual big play and then yards after the catch. Mike Evans is notorious for making really awesome receptions and then getting knocked down immediately afterwards, but he escaped the tackle and had a huge touchdown.
Michael Thomas.
Oh, man.
Michael Thomas caught all the passes, 16 for 180 and a touchdown. Now, this kind of thing can happen if the New Orleans defense isn't what we thought it was.
Well, that's the thing about Drew Brees, right? I was anti-Drew Brees. He's not going to put up huge numbers on the back of this is going to be a team that has a really successful defense. If the defense is a week 1 the rest of the year, then Drew Brees is going to be phenomenal. Either way, Michael Thomas will be great. He doesn't have to have 16 receptions to have a great week. It almost seems like it's going to be difficult for him to not be near double-digit receptions.
17 targets. He caught 16 of them.
He's great.
That's good for quarterbacks. Randall Cobb, 9 for 142 and a touchdown. Kenny Stills, 4 for 106 and 2 touchdowns. Are these two big boy waiver wire targets this week?
Kenny Stills not so much in the sense that he only
he actually is for me.
He only had 5 targets.
Yeah, I realize, but that's just who Kenny Stills is.
Absolutely,
Kenny Stills is Alshon Jeffrey.
Yeah,
for fantasy football.
I would say more Deshaun Jackson, but yeah.
Okay, but that type of a player where you're not going to see Michael Thomas 17 targets going to Kenny Stills.
Would you rather pick up Randall Cobb or Kenny Stills?
Great question.
Yeah, that is.
To me, it's Randall Cobb hands down.
I agree. It's just quarterback.
Yeah, quarterback. And the issue with Randall Cobb, like there was a period this offseason where I was starting to be completely in on Randall Cobb. Like he is a great value. The reason I wasn't is because all the injuries in camp and in preseason.
Well, there's a lot of chatter that the team didn't like him.
Yeah, but I
bet they love him now.
He looked the part this week.
Emmanuel Sanders, Julio Jones, Keenan Allen, and Antonio Brown. I don't know how Antonio Brown manages to always have a good game even when his quarterback isn't.
The first half, he had nothing.
Mike, Emmanuel Sanders, 10 for 135 and a touchdown on 11 targets. Wow.
He is my 100%. If he's on any waivers, he would be my number one pickup. He, to me, is a trade target. It's hard to trade after a good week.
An Ultimate Draft Kit value pick from the early offseason. And at least through 1 week, looked outstanding.
And through 2 weeks, he's going to look outstanding.
Now, I want to rotate into the tight end position. Now, Rob Gronkowski's pretty good, 7 for 123 and 1. He Gronk smashed. We're not surprised. However, welcome to the NFL Will Dissly, 4th round rookie tight end, born and raised in Bozeman, Montana, had a NFL athletic profile that fit, quote, backup tight end and special teams.
I believe his actual athletic comp, if you look it up, is Mike Wright.
Yes, and listen to this. First rookie tight end with 100-plus receiving yards in his first game since 1968, and I actually have a clip of him running down the seam.
Oh, come on! Oh, what are you doing? Woohoo!
Still going.
Look,
strong.
That is said.
Do you know his actual nickname?
What's his nickname?
Uncle Will.
Yes,
that's his real.
Yes,
we're not making that. That's his nickname.
Look, I bring that down home tune of him running down the seam with respect because this is a player that, and I was talking to Brooks this morning about it. He just does it. He just gets it done. That's what it said in college. He was a 4th round pick. Quote, all in with his commitment to the team and what he has to do. He won't blow you away with talent or athleticism, but he does his job. Kicked Mike right in the Venettes this week.
I
kicked him right in the Venettes.
You jerk! You stole all my thunder. When he scored, it was like, oh, not Vanette. Who is that?
Will Dissly. And now Doug Baldwin's out. So the question is do you overreact to week 1?
No.
Or do you buy into him being a pass catching option on a team that has very few?
Yeah, I think
I refuse.
I think there are still far better options. I will say, woohoo! Give him that.
Uncle Will.
Uncle Will.
See, I picked the right music.
Yeah, I mean, the argument in his favor is what you're saying with Baldwin gone, with Jimmy Graham gone.
Should he be picked up?
No,
that's the simple question.
I will not be picking him up. But you have to be okay with, like, certain people are going to pick him up, and you can't really make fun of them for picking him up and saying, oh, you're overreacting, because he still has a quarterback that's going to throw a lot of touchdowns and a lot of yards, and there's just not that many other options. So you could do worse, but I am going to wait and see on this.
You're waiting on Uncle Will.
I'm going to wait on Uncle Will. There's other options out there that I would
Ebron
prefer.
Or Uncle Will on the waiver wire? Eric Ebron, 4 for 51 and a touchdown on 5 targets.
I will take Ebron, the guy who is an actual athletic freak. He's still got to do it in the NFL. Look, this is week 1. You want to know one of the ways that you beat a team?
He could be the Greg Ogletree of the tight end position.
You surprise them. I promise you that Denver was not prepared
for Will Dissly.
For Will Dissly down the field, okay? I mean, that's one of the things you have to keep in mind.
That's
they were
a great
not
point.
Scheming, going, pay attention to this guy.
That's an absolutely great point. Jordan Reed, Rule 86, came to play, 4 for 48 and a touchdown. He was flexing and stuff afterwards, so he's got to be good, right?
Yeah, and he should only be getting more healthy right now as far as from what his original injury was. More snaps next week is what I expect.
You should be really, really happy if you drafted Jordan Reed right now.
George Kittle, 5 for 90 on 9 targets.
You should be very happy if you drafted George Kittle, too.
He's one of my favorites. So before we get into the pooped in their big boy pants, the segment in which you can, I don't know, maybe get a little relief from your pain. We'll share in the pain with you. Let's talk about
They relieve themselves on the field.
Oh, goodness. Nice, Mike. The Rising Stars for this week, and this year they're brought to you by fantasychamps.com, where you can get fantasy football trophies and rings and belts and jerseys. It's awesome. Swag out your league, swag out your team. My Rising Star this week is Chris Thompson, running back for the Washington Redskins, heavily involved, a best friend of a player like Alex Smith. Alex Smith knows how to get the ball to the best players in space, loves the short yardage. Chris Thompson looked like a great player, just like he did last year. I mean, so I think you just sign and play Chris Thompson until he's either hurt or gives you a reason not to.
Yeah. My Rising Star this week, we just mentioned him a second ago, it's George Kittle.
Mm-hmm.
George Kittle, right off the bat, I realize that Goodwin went down and then his involvement rised a little bit, but the truth is right from the get-go.
Right. I'm just gonna let it go.
Rose a little bit. Right from the get-go, Kittle was utilized. He was running routes. He
just missed a touchdown.
Being targeted. Yeah, he did have a case of the dropsies in this game. But what you want is 9. I mean, look, he has the athletic profile.
Yes.
The team, the opportunity to take a big step forward. And there's a lot of conversation this offseason. Is Kittle going to do that? And after week 1, you have to believe he's going to, because he was so involved for a tight end. 9 targets for a tight end is – you can't ask for more than that.
And he was a design target. It wasn't and if you made your conclusion that you might have been wrong about Alvin Kamara in week 1, I made my conclusion right away that I was wrong about George Kittle. I was concerned that Kittle was a product of opportunity last year that wasn't going to be there with a return of Pierre Garçon, that wasn't going to be there with Jerick McKinnon, who's now gone, which probably helps George Kittle a little bit.
Sure.
And then Goodwin missed the game. But I think Kittle is as sure of a top 10, 12 tight end as you can get on the waiver wire this week. I'll be targeting him.
Agreed.
And it's just a matter of how much of your budget you'll spend. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Mike, I'm very surprised with your pick here.
Well, I don't know why you're surprised.
Well, I'm surprised only because I feel like it's risky business. So tell the people who you're going with.
It's James Conner. And you...
I mean, you're not wrong. I'm not saying you're wrong.
Gotcha. It was more, I want to talk about just James Conner and what does James Conner's performance do now to Le'Veon Bell? Is Le'Veon Bell more likely to dig in and stay home? Is Le'Veon Bell see that his job is replaceable and maybe he should not have thrown $800,000 into the garbage to stay home? And what do the Steelers do? They can win with James Conner. I understand they tied the game yesterday. They also tied the game losing the turnover battle by -6. That's impossible. To be in a game at -6 it's unheard of in the NFL. James Conner looked the part. He looked it in preseason. All of us were saying it. Everyone watching any sort of Pittsburgh Steelers football was going, holy crap, James Conner looks fantastic. So if the Steelers move forward with Conner, you have a running back 1 until Le'Veon Bell comes back.
All right, some honorable mention rising stars I wanted to bring up. Geronimo Allison.
Yeah.
Looked very secure as the 3. Great long touchdown catch. Phillip Dorsett had a great week 1 for Tom Brady. And then Phillip Lindsay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Do we talk about him now or do we talk about him in a minute? Guess we'll talk about him when we speak.
Wait, he's in the duds?
No.
He's not.
No, Royce Freeman.
Freeman's in the duds?
No, he's not. So let's talk about Phillip Lindsay for a minute.
Yes.
Phillip Lindsay came out. What was impressive to me, By the way,
Lindsay's
he's the
running back for the
the
Denver Broncos.
Running back for the Broncos. Very happy that he was a dynasty out in our league by yours truly about 2 weeks ago, because I had heard about and seen in preseason flashes from Phillip Lindsay. What I didn't expect was a snap count for Lindsay that would match Royce Freeman, that would exceed Devontae Booker's, and to see him used in such high-leverage situations when this game was on the line over and over again. We saw Phillip Lindsay running out there on the field. He scored the first touchdown of the Broncos season, 15 for 71 on the ground, 2 for 31 and a touchdown through the air. He's going to be in that top 5-6 waiver ads, isn't he not?
Oh, yeah, he certainly will be.
He not? Sorry.
And he should be. They talked about, are they going to ride the hot hand in Denver? And Lindsay's hand was engulfed in flames during that game. So
to me,
it made sense for them to keep going to him over and over.
This is from my perspective, this is a murky. Keep my hands away from it. I'll put a cheap claim on Lindsay and put him on my bench.
Yeah,
so you're moving away from Royce Freeman in a significant way.
I'm moving away from the Denver Broncos. My fear on Freeman from the get-go was Vance Joseph, and it wasn't that he's so bad. Look, he won the game. Vance Joseph did what it took. So you can't criticize him in that way. But what you can say is he does not care about what we care about.
Well, none of them do.
None of them do. But he has a history of this where you can't tell who is going to be the running back. And if you put Phillip Lindsay in your lineup next week, you're taking a guess.
Regardless of this, and I agree with you. And there's a couple things to bring up here. Phillip Lindsay won. No running back had a higher percentage of touches to snaps. So when he was on the field, he touched the ball, which told me that they came out with a design in this game for Phillip Lindsay's involvement. The second thing is my caution to Royce Freeman owners in this all offseason was related to third down. It was related to why would you ever need to use Royce Freeman on third down if you have a weapon like Phillip Lindsay? Mm-hmm. Why do it? And Lindsay proved that he could do it this week. But if you're a Royce Freeman owner, Mike, which you are you freaking out?
No, I'm definitely not freaking out.
Still led the team in snaps,
and he was 15 carries, 71 yards. The complete absence of passing work, that part stings because Freeman can do it. But I agree with you, Lindsay's the better option there, but Freeman can't do it. They went to him to grind the game out. And this was on the last possession where
– speaking of Lindsay or
I'm talking about Royce Freeman. And when they needed to get yards and the Seattle Seahawks knew exactly what the Denver Broncos were going to do, Royce Freeman was gouging them.
Freeman is great.
He's a very good running back. So
if he had scored a touchdown, no one would be talking about him
exactly. So I'm not freaking out.
Marshawn Lynch or Royce Freeman, which would you rather have on your roster right now?
Lynch.
I mean,
we haven't seen them yet. But
it's close, though, because they seem similar to me, limited passing down work. All right, let's move on.
Pooped in his big boy pants.
Look, fantasy football has some pain.
And no pain, no gain.
Isn't that right, true. Jason?
That is right.
I want to talk about Big Ben. I want to talk about Sammy Biscuit, Sam Bradford, maybe the most disappointing performance of the week. Dak Prescott.
He's pretty close.
And
with
Jimmy
Sam Bradford.
and Jimmy Ugly.
Oh,
I like it. I'll allow it.
At least in week one. No, Jimmy Garoppolo had a couple plays that, like the throw to Pettis, the escaping from the pocket, the touchdown pass to Pettis. You see that play, and I've seen one player do it. It was like Aaron Rodgers. That was an Aaron Rodgers play.
But then you
15 for 33, 2 for 261, and 3 picks.
Yeah, you saw 2 interceptions that were just his inaccuracy, which, that's the opposite of what we've heard. He's so accurate. There were 2 passes that just got away from him that's the reason they were picked off. Granted, this was against the Minnesota Vikings, a phenomenal defense. You have to take it with a grain of salt. Nobody was here recommending to start Garoppolo in this matchup.
No.
I'm still fine with him. Who I'm not fine with is Sam Bradford. He looked terrible.
He looked terrible. He looked terrified.
I mean, scared Bradford.
There is no silver lining here.
No. No, there's not.
And what you saw with
I'm sorry, because I thought it would be different.
What you saw with the garbage from both Sam Bradford and Dak Prescott, the putrid offenses of those two teams. Look, David Johnson and Ezekiel Elliott, they got it done, and this was why they weren't in that 1-2 with Lev Bell and Gurley pre-draft season, was because you worried about the offenses. Will the offenses be good enough to really propel them to fantasy victory? The players are good enough, but you have to start worrying about their offenses. I mean, they still belong right there at that 3-4 spot.
Offensive offenses.
Yes.
Not pleasurable to the eye.
What was Des Bryant thinking when he was watching the Cowboys game?
He was cackling and figuring out his next tweet. Did you see his reply?
No.
Somebody said, hey, you need to call Jerry Jones on Monday and get back in there. He said,
nah, I'm good.
He said, no thanks. He goes, I'd rather he literally said, I'd rather go to New England and get one-on-one coverage on the outside. And then he said, Washington's nice too.
Oh, get bodied, Dallas.
Big Ben, like I said, I'm not actually that concerned about this game.
Nor am
The
I.
weather conditions were terrible. He still threw for over 300 yards. He made some mistakes, but this is Big Ben, and it's road Big Ben. And next week, he gets to take on Kansas City. I think it's going to be
at home.
He's going to be a top 5 quarterback next week.
Yeah, I love him.
He's no Mad Max.
Hey, guys, Nathan Peterman's not too good. Not very good.
The Mayan sacrifice.
Look,
Jason, he was absolutely a Mayan sacrifice.
Yeah.
Mike was right.
Here's the thing, though, that I want to point out.
An object of wrath.
Buffalo Bills fans, I'm sorry that I have to remind you of this. Your head coach, during a playoff run last year, thought it was a good idea to bench Tyrod Taylor for Nathan Peterman.
That's a what do they say? Sometimes you get fired with cause. Sometimes you get fired without cause. That's cause.
I mean, what? I get starting him in week 1 against the Baltimore Ravens because you know that Josh Allen's just not ready. And then, but to put you remedied your mistake. You put Allen in, get him some reps in the second half of the game, and then you come out after. It's too early. It's too early to know who the quarterback will be. Maybe we'll put Nathan Peterman back out there. What are you doing to your fan base? Give them some hope.
Look at the schedule, Mike. They need more sacrifices.
Chargers
may never die.
Yeah, the Chargers, Vikings, Packers. If there's a way, I don't know how. I don't do a lot of sports betting or anything like that. If there's a way to bet on them losing the next 3 games,
a parlay,
like a 3-game Buffalo Bill loss.
Sorry,
parlay.
Buffalo.
It was a massacre. All right, speaking of some poopers, let's go to running backs. Shady McCoy, Kareem Hunt, Derrick Henry, Jamaal Williams, Tyreek Cohen, the pair of 49er running backs, Morris and Breida, and then Gilly Gumdrops. Mike Gillisley.
Did he have big boy pants?
No, he did. He did not.
He's
just in here because I think Brooks wanted to troll Jason.
It's a good story, and if you were listening here, I was saying Gilly is a sneaky star.
Right.
This is why, and this is a genuine PSA, not self-promotion, even though it is. You need to follow Mike, myself, and Andy on our personal accounts on Twitter at the FF Hitman,
yes,
at Andy Holloway, and at Jason FFL, because after we're done recording on Friday, things happen Friday night, Saturday, and Sunday morning that completely change what might have been said. I tweeted out on Saturday the fact that Jonathan Williams was reactivated from practice squad and brought back in the New Orleans backfield. Just said, now there's murkiness. You don't know who's going to get the ball. So, I mean, I took him out of all of my lineups. I hope you did too. But it was certainly wrong, and his fumble did not happen.
It is true. If you follow us on Twitter, it's the closest thing to getting one of those like ear monitoring pieces in your ear.
Right.
Heading into the weekend, just to give you information.
That's where they put them.
Did I say ear monitoring pieces in your ear?
You did.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well,
you don't want an ear monitoring piece.
So
anywhere else.
Somewhere else.
I'm going to throw out my real actual.
Yeah. Who are you
concerns.
actually concerned about here?
LeSean McCoy, just because of the offense, but I'm not concerned in terms of volume. He's going to get volume. I'm not worried about Hunt. Derrick Henry is very concerning at this point.
Really?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Very concerning.
Okay, he had a 60-yard touchdown run that was called back on a phantom.
No,
He's always a big play potential guy.
But here's the problem. And they started out, they went to Henry at the beginning of the longest game of all time because of all the
7
delays.
hours.
And then they got down.
But here's the thing. Derrick Henry got completely game scripted, got removed because they could not run on the Miami Dolphins. Next up, the Houston Texans. After that, the Jacksonville Jaguars. After that, the Philadelphia Eagles. That's why there is great concern for Derrick Henry. After week 1, they've already said if Henry doesn't get it going, we're going not just to Dion Lewis, they're going almost exclusively to Dion Lewis. That's where the problem lies with Henry.
Yeah, I mean, that was the issue we talked about preseason, was that he's not the pass-catching back. I'd rather have Dion Lewis. I am all on board on that, but I'm not too worried about Henry. He was the clear back in the beginning, and if they're not down, I mean, if Marcus Mariota is gone,
it's efficiency though.
If Marcus Mariota is gone, then I'm extremely worried about Derrick Henry, because Blaine Gabbert is just going to be there losing games, being in bad game scripts, and then Derrick Henry will be irrelevant.
In this game, Dion Lewis outtouched Henry 21-11. He's also a much better football player.
Oh,
he's
I
just
love
a
Dion
better
Lewis.
Football player.
Butter.
The San Francisco backs,
they about split touches, and they were both okay against Minnesota. I mean,
so
it wasn't that bad.
I'm not going to bail on them yet.
Next week against Detroit, initial thoughts on Morris versus Breida?
I would rather have – same exact situation. I'd rather have Breida because I believe that he will be more involved in the passing game than Alf.
Do not worry about Jamaal Williams. I'm going to throw that out there right now, at least for next week. Because, next week's Minnesota, so maybe you pause. But from a workload standpoint, Jamaal Williams got a lion's share.
And from a pass protection standpoint, he will be in the game always. He is a great pass protector, and Aaron Rodgers has a knee problem. That's –
I didn't see a lot of Ty Montgomery. Hogan, Benjamin, Garcon, Watkins, Crowder, Hearns, and Gallup, the poopers at the wide receiver position. The one that – look, I'm concerned about all these guys.
Right.
The one I'm least concerned about is Hogan. Obviously, I brought him up as a trade target. And then I'm not as concerned as I probably should be about Kelvin Benjamin. He had 7 targets from Nathan Peterman. Things will be better for Benjamin in the future. He played one of the better defenses in the league in Baltimore. He's still the number 1 on a bad offense. I get it. He's not good, but he's in the wide receiver 3 range for me still. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Do you throw him? Is he a cut, to go get a –
Yes.
Like, would you rather have – I'm sure you'd rather have Randall Cobb. I'm sure you'd rather have
Kenny Stills
than Kelvin Benjamin?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Emmanuel Sanders, all those guys you'd rather have. I agree with your take, Andy, that Kelvin Benjamin is still the number 1 on a bad team, and he'll be fine, and he should be rostered. But if you need to make a cut, because the next 2 weeks are difficult defenses on paper, that's why I worry a little bit about Kelvin.
Tight end poopers.
Oh,
Travis Kelce, Jimmy Graham, Trey, Doo-Doo. 1 for 15 on 6 targets. I like the 6 targets.
That part is good. The part that's not good is who's throwing him the ball.
Kelce had 6 targets too.
Call it how it is. Mitchell Trubisky's not a good quarterback.
I don't agree with that at all. Okay. I do not agree with that.
You liked him in the scripted part. You liked him when he came out and had the game scripted, but the problem is every single game is going to have a second half.
Well, I get it, and he's going to have to grow and learn how to do that. But he made throws in this game that I thought were professional NFL throws, and he's with an offensive mind now, and I thought he looked okay.
I'm hopeful. I got my fingers crossed. I want it. I'm not rooting against him. I'm rooting for him.
So to be a good quarterback, you have to be able to, on the road against Aaron Rodgers on the last drive of the game. I mean, he drove him halfway down the field.
He's not playing against Aaron Rodgers.
It wasn't just
from a mindset standpoint.
It wasn't just the last
intimidating.
drive of the game. It was a lot of. I can say for sure, at least the fourth quarter, he got very, very skittish, and he started to try and run everything, which is not going to work.
No, he pulls his eyes down immediately.
So, Travis Kelce, where's your concern level?
Almost 0.
Mine would
6
be
6 targets. They didn't have to throw the ball a lot. 27 attempts. I'm not that worried about Travis Kelce. I'm not. I've seen him in the preseason. I think he'll be fine. I've
seen some stats talking about how Mahomes has never played with a tight end and worries there, and my worry level is actually 0%. I have no worries whatsoever about Travis Kelce.
Mine's warming.
Is it?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
If you have him, trade him to me.
Jimmy Graham did nothing. 2 for 8 on 4 targets.
You know what my concern level with Graham is?
Oh, my concern level with Graham is exactly where it was pre-draft season.
Because I had no expectations. Ha-ha!
He is going...
Week 1 victory lap.
Look, a week 1 victory lap, way too early, hobbled Aaron Rodgers that couldn't extend the play and maybe find Jimmy Graham in those plays. But the truth is, I think Jimmy Graham is going to be what Mike and I thought, which is a touchdown-only guy. Boom or bust touchdown guy.
So wait, just to be clear, you think what you thought?
That is right.
Okay.
I think
Ricky
I was right.
Seals-Jones.
Very disappointing. Dropped the touchdown.
Dropped the touchdown, 3 for 19 on 6 targets.
There were actually...
Sam Bradford was terrible. The silver lining here is Ricky Seals-Jones was running routes all game long, and he was on the field for 49 of 53 snaps. I would jettison him for George Kittle. I would consider jettisoning him for, some other big name tight end. But he's still.
What about Uncle whatever his face is?
No, I'd keep Ricky Seals-Jones.
Right.
Yeah, me too. It was a terrible game, but it was a terrible game for all these guys that we're talking about. And the reality was he was on the field, he was running routes, he was getting targets, and he dropped a touchdown. He gets that touchdown, and you're going, oh, okay.
You're not worrying about it.
It's funny. He gets that touchdown, and he's a top tight end. Kyle Rudolph had 1 catch. He was a top tight end this week. He was like the number 4 tight end or something.
So I don't freak out about him. Are you freaking out then, Mike? I mean, you got Jason. You just threw the bad quarterback take on Mitchell Trubisky. So where's your Trey Boo-Boo love? I mean, where's your week 1 Trey Boo-Boo conclusion?
Trey Boo-Boo had the weirdest game to be part of imaginable, right? You had a first half where you are up 20-0, were not needed because your defense was great. They start running the ball and trying to run the clock out. At that point, I turned the game on 5 minutes late. Trey Burton already had a catch. He was involved. He got 6 targets. But then the second half, what you said, Mike, was just true. Mitchell Trubisky got scared in that pocket. I think that game appeared a little bit too big for him. I'm not that worried about Trey Burton. He got 6 targets. He was lined up the way that we wanted him to get lined up. Solo, isolation, all the time running routes. He had a bad game. I'm worried about the quarterback play, but I'm not cutting Trey Burton.
To be fair, he was brought in to be the Travis Kelce for the Chicago Bears, and he was better than Travis Kelce.
That is true.
They both caught 1 pass.
Yeah, one of them had 15 yards.
On 6 targets. All right. More to come tomorrow on the show. We have Waiver Wire. We'll talk through a ton of these players, and you can find us on Twitter at the FF Ballers.
If you're going to play some daily, check out draft.com/ballers. We'll see you tomorrow.
Goodbye. Good luck tonight.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Fantasy Footballers Podcast. Join our fantasy football community on jointhefoot.com and follow us on Twitter at the FF Ballers.